What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. My name is Ryan Lickletter. I'm here with the Roll Coverage Pod. Nick, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. It's the low, man. It's college football night. Oregon, Penn State, but we're here talking professionals. Okay? True dogs. I'm excited for this.
The real ones are watching college football, and they got us on their phones right now, and they're making sure they lock in for their fantasy football teams to go out there and get a massive W this week in fantasy football. So, Nick, we're going to hop right into this and start answering everybody's questions that currently has them in the chat. We got Ben, who pre-fired early this morning at 10:50 for us.
Wow.
Stroud versus Tennessee, or Purdy coming off the injury versus Jacksonville. I'm going to start here. Personally, I am avoiding CJ Stroud at all costs this year. This offense has looked abysmal to start the season. The offensive line has been shaky the entire year. And then coming from an offseason where you trade your best offensive lineman, you rebuild it with Cam Robinson and some other younger pieces, it just hasn't been very good. The ground game has not worked with an older version of Nick Chubb. Maybe a little bit more Woody Marks can get this team going, one of our popular waiver pickups. But I think the answer is Brock Purdy. I think that they did not rush Purdy back in this situation, and it was more of a Purdy's actually healthy and he'll be ready to go versus Jacksonville. And sure, Jacksonville's had some nice games on the defensive side of the ball here through a few weeks, but there's definitely some cracks in this Jacksonville defense, and I think that the 49ers, who will definitely see a heavy amount of 8-man in the box against Christian McCaffrey and co. I think Brock Purdy's probably the best choice in this case scenario. And Ricky Pearsall is breaking out as an elite wide receiver one. Juwan Jennings looks like he's a 50-50 chance to play. But if he does play, it's only going to help Brock Purdy. I love Brock Purdy compared to CJ Stroud in this matchup. What are your thoughts, Nick?
To be honest, I agree with you. I was really debating on going Stroud with this. I really was. But looking at the matchup, Tennessee's defense, it hasn't been able to produce really anything. But then again, their offense can't do anything. So the over-under on this right now, for example, is sitting at 38.5. So they're expecting this to be a slug out. Yeah, so I really have to agree with you. I was really wanting to push back. I was ready. I was like, okay, I'm going to give the pushback that, you know what, the 49ers don't have the defense. Jacksonville kind of looked good. But then I remember Jacksonville beat my Carolina Panthers, then lost to the Bengals, then beat Houston. I don't necessarily know if I believe in Jacksonville. So for that reason, I got to go with Brock Purdy. I'm going to continue to trust in him until he proves otherwise. Because as long as he's out there, they can win.
Listen, I think it's more of a situation where it's anybody but CJ Stroud for me at this point. I can't trust him.
Which is crazy that we're here already.
I mean, yeah, and I mean we're only a little bit over a year removed from CJ Stroud being a consistent fantasy football starter in 2023, and now we're can't even, get him anywhere near a lineup. Let's get to our next question here from Jacob, a loyal follower of the stream. Travis Kelce or Hunter Henry? I'm going with Hunter Henry, and I understand that Travis Kelce, he's due for a big game. Right now, he's my tight end 11 in my ranks.
Yep.
Guess where I have Hunter Henry? Tight end 6 in my ranks this week. I mean, he's a must start this week in fantasy football. He's coming off of a massive game with 2 touchdown catches, 90 yards, saw 11 targets last week, and I had him as a must start. Matchup gets even better this week against the Panthers, who have really struggled to the tight end position this year. I understand name value, Travis Kelce. The Ravens defense is struggling against tight ends. Ravens defense is not great right now. He's due to get going. Xavier Worthy's back. Hunter Henry is just the better player with Drake May right now. Hunter Henry has the better matchup, I think, as well. You got to start Hunter Henry, who's been an absolute superstar since Drake May took over in fantasy football. And he's been almost, set him and forget it tight end with Drake May at quarterback. I know he had one down week this year, but besides that, Hunter Henry's been a really consistent option. What are your thoughts on this one?
I 100% agree with you. And again, they're playing my Carolina Panthers right in my neck of the woods right now in Massachusetts. So I definitely think that Hunter Henry's going to eat. That linebacker core in Carolina is not good. There is nothing that I can see Kelce exploding for this game. If so, he's going to need 2-3 touchdowns. And yeah, it'll be a godlike performance. But realistically, Hunter Henry's going to be the guy. I expect him to get at least 7 receptions, probably 85 plus yards. And I'm expecting a touchdown at Hunter Henry. So for me, he's already 14, 15 points. I'm ready.
Yeah, listen, since Hunter Henry took over not Hunter Henry. Since Drake May took over as the team starter, he has led all Patriots pass catchers in red zone targets, first read target share, and target share over that stretch. Hunter Henry and Drake May is the true match made in heaven.
I agree.
so far throughout. Appreciate Kyle tuning in. We're going to get to your question when it comes up. Thanks for popping in, my guy. There was one more in here. Let's get to Calvin Ridley question from Jacob before we move on. Is Calvin Ridley droppable? He was on my list of like not
Yes. The
just
answer is
yet.
yes.
I see. I'm on the fence of this because the targets are still there. Sure, the
Okay.
targets are horrible right now and they're not catching it. I think he has 8 total catches despite having 21 targets. Still leads the team in target share. Still leads the team in first read share. Like everything is solid there. What's concerning is the separation numbers are down this year. He's not getting open as much as he used to, and there's some drops mixed in there as well. But Calvin Ridley, like he turns this around in a week or two. You're looking at a guy that could be averaging 15 points a game based on his usage. So do I
He
really
could
want to?
be, could
But I
like
do it.
really.
Yeah, but compared to the guys on waivers right now in normal
Yes, you would
12 team
have to.
formats, you gotta continue to roster him because you can't afford to have Calvin Ridley have 2 straight games of 15 points and then he's back as a consistent flex option the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they're close and you just have to hold a little bit longer. Sure, if Calvin Ridley has 2 more duds, I don't want him anywhere near my starting lineup right now, but if he has 2 more duds and he's stashed on my bench, then I can start considering like, hey, Calvin Ridley's got to go. But until that point happens, I think it's just a stash because the upside's there for him to be a starter the rest of the season if him and Cam Ward start clicking a little bit.
I agree. It just blows my mind. 8 receptions on 21 targets. That's really bad. Like I agree with you, but if you have Calvin Ridley as your wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, you're kind of stuck. If he's your wide receiver 4, yeah, you're hoping the depth and everything, but there could be a point, probably week 7 or week 8, where we're finally like, okay, we don't need him anymore.
Well, there's a guy, Alec Aomanor, who's knocking on the door as the team's wide
He
receiver
is.
1. So we will see how this Tennessee wide receiver room progresses. And who knows, Calvin Ridley might even be a trade target at the deadline for a wide receiver needy team. So we will see what's going on. Erwin, what's up, my guy? Should I stream Eagles defense against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or stay with the New England Patriots versus the Carolina Panthers? I'm going to ask you first on this one because you're a Panthers fan. New England versus the Panthers. Good streaming matchup.
It depends on the team you're getting from Carolina. Personally, I would say stay with New England. I'm not going to go with the Eagles D because I do think that the Bucs can do something. I think that there's potential there to score points. I don't think there's a chance that Bryce Young scores 30 in this. I don't think it gets anywhere close. So if this game is going to be anywhere close or a blowout for that matter, it's going to be on the New England side. So yeah, I would stay with New England.
I think New England has higher upside this week.
Yep,
I
I
don't
agree.
find a lot of case scenarios where the Eagles defense scores 10 plus points against the Bucs, and there's chances that Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin make their debuts. That's only going to help the Bucs, and the Eagles have historically struggled against them. Their pass defense has not been as good this season, so I think I'm going with New England in this matchup. Sure, the Panthers got a big time win last week, but that was a large part due to their defense absolutely showing up.
100%.
Their offense wasn't necessarily shredding the Falcons. It was more their defense stepped up big time, great field position, made some big time turnover, splash plays, all that type of stuff. So with the Patriots, who could be getting Christian Gonzalez debut this week, I think the Patriots are a better streaming option than the Eagles this week.
Not just that, but update. Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin are both expected to play in this game.
There you go. There you go. Both players are in. Should be a tougher day for the Eagles defense.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence or Jackson Dart. Oh, man. See, this one's hard because you have Dart's rushing upside versus Trevor Lawrence, who has had 3 pretty favorable matchups, and he hasn't been able to cash in on them this year. And now he faces a San Francisco defense who has not allowed over 220 passing yards to a quarterback this season. So, man, it's tough. And I think
at this point, he lost 4 for 4, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. Like, he's not blowing anything away. So at that point, you go with the upside. You go and hope and pray because Trevor Lawrence puts up 10, 12 points on a fantastic day. There's a chance that Jackson Dart has that by halftime. Especially with the way Malik Neighbors looks.
I think Dable's going to put him in a solid position to succeed, and we know his legs could be a factor for sure. Absolutely. So I think in terms of with how Trevor Lawrence has started the season, I like Jackson Dart a little bit more in terms of, the Chargers are a scary matchup, sure, for a rookie quarterback that's going to be tough, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Jackson Dart rush 10 times in this matchup, and that alone will put his floor at a high enough level to exceed Trevor Lawrence Flex for him as well for our GOAT DG, Keon Coleman, Calvin Ridley, or Brenton Strange. Ooh, man, this one is
That's tough.
incredibly tough here. I think honestly, I'm gonna lean
Strange.
Keon Coleman. Oh, Strange against the 49ers.
Yeah, because to be honest, Trevor Lawrence is going to need a safety valve. That's always been my thing. The quarterback needs to have some guy he can get the ball to consistently. Strange can be that guy. He can be that, 9-yard hitch route kind of thing. Go out there and catch 6, 7 balls and end up with 60 yards. And especially in a PPR league, he's not doing too bad. I think there's a chance that Buffalo destroys the Saints.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that Keon Coleman gets 5 targets the whole game. And we just had a discussion about Calvin Ridley, so I'm definitely not going with that.
It's a
I would
tough
risk it.
situation. I think with Keon Coleman, the Saints are bottom 10 in the NFL in perimeter wide receiver points.
Absolutely.
They haven't been as bad against slot receivers, so it's like obviously JSN is the one guy that had a nice week against their slot corners rooms, but it's in an interesting point to where do you trust the upside of Keon Coleman, or do you trust the target share of Calvin Ridley, or do you trust just Brenton Strange getting like 4 targets and 8 points? There's
Yeah.
so much different options you can go with it. Personally, me, I'm targeting the best matchup of these 3 guys, and it's Keon Coleman, but you could
Okay.
basically go anywhere, at this point. Should I get the Eagles defense at Bucks? Oh, we answered this one for you, Erwin. We got the New England Patriots.
Yep.
What's up, Taco Leaguers? We talking Yahoo trades or what? If you got what's it called? Any trade questions too, drop them in the comments section below. The Frogs here, starting Neighbors and Egabuka, but need one more for my flex spot. Ricky Pearsall, Matthew Golden, Ted McMillan, Jameson Williams, or Travion Henderson. I'm going to start with you, Nick. Which one are you going with?
Oh, this is a tough one. We were just talking about Pearsall a little bit. To be honest, I've fallen out of love with Matthew Golden. I really feel like this is going to be Tetaroa's game to get his first touchdown. So I really feel like that. But, man, Travion Henderson's looking at me right in the face, too. Ooh, this is a real tough one. You know what? I'm going to go with Tetaroa. I know it's a little bit of a Panther move, but I think he's going to get the touchdown. I think for them to be even competitive in this game, he's going to have to go off. Henderson has a chance of not really getting the start. Again, with Ramondre having all those fumbles, they could go to Antonio Gibson. There's some other things that could happen. And this defense doesn't look too bad against the run for Carolina. So for me, I'm going to go with Tetaroa.
Yeah, I think I'm in that same boat as well. As far as like the rankings of each of these guys, Neighbors I have at 5, Egabuka I have at 14, Tetaroa McMillan I have at 13, and Ricky Pearsall I have at 19. So I think it's between those 4 guys that you're taking a look at.
Absolutely.
Don't discount Matthew Golden, though. Last week without Jaden Reed, led all Packers receivers and targets, receptions, yards, fantasy points, more routes run, more snaps played. Everything is looking up for him against the Dallas Cowboys team. So I love him in a lot of flex plays this week, especially in PPR formats. But I think you rock with Tetaroa McMillan, who had a 30% target share last week.
Yep.
Seems like he's on the cusp of having those 20-plus point outings if this Carolina Panthers team gets going a little bit more in the red zone. Ted has played really good to start the year, and this is no discount against Ricky Pearsall, but Tetaroa McMillan just has a higher ceiling right now than Ricky Pearsall because his team is going to need to throw the ball more than
Correct.
the 49ers a lot of the time. So I like Tetaroa McMillan to be in for a really nice week.
Correct. We also don't have a clear wide receiver 2 right now. Xavier Legette's being sat. Bryson Tremaine, the undrafted free agent, is essentially the wide receiver 2. So if anybody's going to try and, pull this game out for Carolina, it's going to have to be Tetaroa. They're going to feed him.
They are going to have to feed him. Need 2 in a standard league. Brian Thomas Jr., DK Metcalf, Waddle, or DK. Double DK here, but I think what I'm taking a look at here is I'm avoiding DK at all costs at this point. Like him heading into this week against the Vikings defense, Metcalf ranks in the bottom half of the NFL in separation.
Yeah.
He hasn't topped 45 yards in the last 2 weeks. He's relied on touchdowns. The Vikings are 31st against fantasy receivers this year. Like it is a matchup nightmare for the Pittsburgh Steelers passing game. I can't trust DK Metcalf, but it's also like Jalen Waddle is a part of this conversation, and he does
so is BTJ, to be honest, right now.
I think I would go with Waddle over DK. You got to start Brian Thomas Jr. I think you got to start Brian Thomas Jr., but I'm
100%.
I'm going with Waddle over DK. You in that same boat?
Yeah, I don't believe in DK. To be honest, I think Pittsburgh is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Aaron Rodgers really doesn't, in my opinion, look like he's back. he may have a moment or something like that, but DK is not the same wide receiver he was in Seattle. It's a completely new everything. And yeah, I just don't believe it. I have my concerns about BTJ, but until like something drastic happens, he's going to start no matter what. So yeah, it's Waddle for me, unless there's a clone of DK out there. I saw 2 DKs.
I think the other one might be Pickens. So if it was
Pickens?
Pickens in that group that he has as well, then I would go BTJ and Pickens, no doubt.
100%. 100%.
In that one. Pickens should be in for a really nice game, especially without CeeDee Lamb. We're going to get to Kyle here. Full PPR, Shakira, Chris Godwin, or Romeo Dobbs, pick 2. This is an interesting one because you do have the Chris Godwin debut coming up, and it helps that Mike Evans is just not in the lineup. So he should have a decent target share. I'm interested to see if he's on a snap count, though. Will he be on a snap count in this one? It's going to be an interesting fashion. I do like Khalil Shakir slotting in as a decent, PPR option this week against the Saints. He's always going to have that nice, consistent floor in terms of what he can do on a weekly basis. So that is definitely something I always look at with that. Outside of him, what are you going, Dobbs or Godwin in this one?
I'm going Godwin, to be honest. For them to be able to compete with the Eagles, they're going to have to throw the ball. And if people don't remember, Emeka Egbuka is dealing with a groin injury. So they're going to have to distribute the ball out quite a bit. Not just that, but with Wirfs back, they're still dealing with the loss of, I think it's Luke Gadecki on the offensive line for the rest of the year. Yeah. I don't necessarily love the way Bucky's been running. He's been productive, of course, but I'm sorry, this is just a different team that they're playing. So yeah, I would go with Godwin. They're going to have to throw the heck out of that ball. So again, another one where I expect 7+ targets at least.
I think,
and I
think Godwin provides a higher ceiling than Romeo Dobbs this week. I understand Dobbs is playing the Cowboys, but it feels impossible to predict like Packers wide receiver shares at this point. Like
and there's a chance they're so far ahead so early.
I have
it doesn't
Dobbs
matter.
behind Matthew Golden too, and it's just tough to try to pick out which one's going to have the good day. I know when Chris Godwin's been in lineups, he's had good days in terms of production. You kind of mentioned an underrated point that the Bucs ground game just hasn't gotten going this year. They've had to throw the ball a good amount, and they've had to, distribute that rock around the passing game. Sterling Shepard's had some decent volume games in this offense as well. So it's like Chris Godwin comes back, even if he might play like 60 to 70% of snaps, which won't be near his 90% plus snap count he's playing prior to the injury, he could see 7 targets and have a nice day in PPR. So I think you rock with those two guys in this matchup. Bo Nix or Jordan Love, this one's not even a question for me. It is Jordan Love against the Dallas Cowboys, who are getting absolutely shredded over the last 2 weeks. 700 passing yards, 7 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. They're the worst defense against opposing quarterbacks in fantasy. I got Jordan Love as my quarterback 8. Bo Nix is my quarterback 12. No brainer in my mind. How about you, Jordan Love or Bo Nix?
The exact opposite. I don't believe in Jordan Love at all.
Wow.
The exact opposite, especially at home. Nix hasn't had a true statement game this year, so this is what he's going to try and do. It's against Cincinnati, who is going to roll out Browning again. So no offense, there's going to be no offense. It's going to be check down city. This is going to be the one where, Ryan, you're going to come back and you're going to look at me and you're going to be like, it was RJ Harvey's breakout game. I don't know how I ever thought anything else. And yeah, I'm sorry. I won't bet against Denver at home pretty much ever. So for this one, I'm going Bo Nix. Do I love Jordan Love? No. I think it's going to be an interesting one. But I honestly think Green Bay is going to have so much dominance on the defensive side of the ball on against Dallas that Jordan Love's not going to need 300 yards or anything like that. I genuinely believe it's going to be Bo Nix.
I can't do it this week. Bo Nix has looked horrible this year. I don't know if I could do it based on the matchup.
Brady had bad games too, man. We're back. Bo Nix City.
Listen, I'm not opposed to starting Bo Nix this week. I think when you're comparing it to Jordan Love, I think it's tough. You gotta pick your poison. All right, Dan B here. Half PPR can only start 1 at flex. Jaylen Warren at New England. Ricky Pearsall versus Jacksonville or Tyquan Thornton, if that matters at all. Mahomes is my QB. Thanks, guys. Tyquan Thornton, despite Mahomes being as your quarterback, I think you don't consider him compared to your other options here. Now it's between Jaylen Warren and Ricky Pearsall. And Jaylen Warren's been, pretty solid to open the season and surprising. I mean, Pittsburgh has no sort of efficiency.
Hold on. Jaylen Warren's is not at New England.
No, they're against Minnesota. He typed that wrong. He typed that.
Okay,
but I was going to say, like, Jaylen Warren has not been efficient or effective to start the year. He's just had a lot of volume to open the year. So I can't trust them against the Vikings, who have been really good against
Agreed.
basically every position to open the season. Ricky Pearsall, on the other hand, gets a plus matchup against Jacksonville. Like I mentioned earlier, he's my wide receiver 19 heading into the week. I think you fire him up with a lot of confidence. I mean, his last 5 games, he's had over like 14 points, I think, in every single one, dating back to last year. And he gets Brock Purdy back, which will only boost his production this week. So Ricky Pearsall over Jalen Warren, you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, it's not even close. To be honest, the Jaguars have shown that they can also put up some points. So this could be a nice little shootout, especially with the questions that everybody has with the 49ers. This is going to be a good one. But yeah, I would absolutely go with Pearsall. I don't believe in Warren, and Tyquan has been great so far to start, especially in deep balls. That you can't live your whole life on deep balls.
Listen, I think Tyquan Thornton, like, rest of the season is exactly what the Chiefs kind of need, though, is when they, like, get Rasheed and Xavier Worthy healthy, they have a guy like Tyquan Thornton who gets open when nobody's paying attention to him. Like that.
I
That's
still
the
don't think
element
they
they've been
end this
missing.
team with or end this year with Worthy.
Wait, what'd you say? You
I
don't
still
think he'll
don't-
survive?
Yeah, I think they're going to end up doing my crazy tinfoil hat trade. I keep hearing this Tyreek Hill news. What's the chance to just go, here's, Xavier Worthy, just give us.
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. I thought you were talking about his shoulders not gonna last. Now you're talking about trading him.
No, yeah, I'm talking about him not being on the Chiefs.
No chance. They can't afford a Tyreek Hill for Xavier Worthy trade. That would set the team back 5 years.
It would set their team back for a year if they won a Super Bowl.
No, it's not worth it at this point.
If they lose this game, I agree with you.
What's the worst that happens? They miss the Super Bowl for the first time in 4 years. Like, I mean,
he's going through his Brady era now. This is the suck.
10-year drought.
Yep.
All right, let's hop back into the questions. Hunter Henry or Mark Andrews the rest of the year? No hesitation. Hunter Henry. Mark Andrews is so volatile at this point in his career in the Ravens passing offense, despite scoring basically 40 points every single game to open this year. Right, Mark Andrews has been only a factor in one of those games. Isaiah Likely is soon going to return. Mark Andrews' snaps are going to decrease at that point. The separation numbers aren't great. And I mentioned it. Since Drake May took over as the starter, Hunter Henry has dominated this team in red zone looks, targets, first read share, everything you want out of the tight end. Hunter Henry is just a solid player the rest of the season. I think Mark Andrews is more of sell high after his good weeks. If you have him, get some guy that believes in Mark Andrews still. And then other weeks, like, he's just not rosterable. I think what we get from Mark Andrews is he has a spike week of 20 points, and then he has weeks of 2 points. And you sit there and you're just so frustrated that you played Mark Andrews doing his 2-point week, and he has his 20-point week, and you're just like, dude, what is going on with this guy?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, though, this could be his opportunity to cement himself as a top 5 tight end. I just pulled up his stats. He is honestly having pretty much a career year so far. I mean, 13 receptions already on the year, on 22 targets, 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, his best year, he had 8 touchdowns. That was his rookie year almost a decade ago. So I think this Hunter Henry revival is finally happening.
I mean, listen, it is much needed. Remember, Hunter Henry was, very injury prone.
Yep.
In Los Angeles as well.
He was a San Diego Charger too.
He was. He's been around. He has been around the block. All right, let's get into the next question. Shout out to DG. Thanks for answering. He always brings the tough ones. We want the tough ones. That's what we live for on Blitz Sports Media. Jacob's back. Chris Godwin or Deebo Samuel. Marcus Mariota is at quarterback, and Deebo didn't do much. But you also have Terry McLaurin out, and they get the Falcons, who are a really tough matchup. And then you got Chris Godwin on the other hand. I'm slightly leaning Deebo Samuel because Cliff Kingsbury is going to have to find any way possible to get this offense moving against a really tough Falcons defense. I expect Deebo to get a little bit more backfield looks. I expect him to get a few more screens. With no Terry McLaurin, he should have a decent target share this week. Like I mentioned with Chris Godwin, unless you're in the situation where you're forced to play him this week, I would be concerned about his snap share numbers, how many targets he actually sees. So with that, I think it's still Deebo, despite a lot of his players around him being out. I still have him, right outside my top 30 receivers this year or for this week.
To be honest, I agree with you. My only concern with it is I don't think the Atlanta Falcons defense of last week against Carolina is what they are. I think they're a much better defense than a lot of people give them credit for. So Deebo's going to have to get some balls out of the backfield and everything. And I'm pretty sure Terry McLaurin is still dealing with that injury.
Yeah, I was trying to pull McLaurin's out. McLaurin is out.
Yeah, him and Noah Brown are out. So, it's going to have to be the Deebo show. When you look at the other option, Godwin, yeah, you're worried about the target share just in general. You're worried about the snap count if that comes out, all that stuff. So for that, you have to go with Debo. The ceiling's too high on Debo.
All right, let's get on the next one here. This guy's got a few of them. Geno, Jared, or Stafford. Pick one. Geno Smith, no hesitation for me. He gets the Bears without Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, a banged up Bears defense. Dak Prescott didn't take advantage of it last week, but Geno's had two 20-plus point outings over the course of his 2025 season in 3 weeks. Sure, he had a very disgusting outing in week 2. That was nationally televised. So people were like, oh, Geno hasn't put up numbers. Actually ranks 4th in yards per completion this year, which is not too shabby. He also is top 10 in attempts, 4th in passing yards. Like, the volume is there for him to be successful, and he has a healthy group of weapons around him. Stafford is going to face a Colts defense that is intriguing, but not enough for me to start over Geno. And then Jared Goff gets a really tough matchup in the Browns. I know Goff's been really good the last 2 weeks, but I trust Geno a little bit more than those guys in terms of what he can provide his ceiling against a pretty weak Bears defense, and should be a shootout on both sides of the ball.
I could see that. I could also see a scenario where Ben Johnson finally puts his foot on the pedal, and this is the game where the Bears finally get, some momentum going forward. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to continue to stick with Jared Goff. I mean, 7-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I love what he's doing. Regardless of what I saw last week and everything with the Browns defense, I think that is a crazy defense. But we saw the crazy defenses last week. It was, pick six city. We saw sacks galore, everything. I think we return back to normal, and Detroit puts their stamp on the Browns. So for that, I'm going with Goff, man. And yeah, I can't go with Stafford. I think the Colts could actually be half decent this year.
All right, half decent. They're gonna be a playoff team. They're gonna win the South.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna win the South.
Oh yeah, at this point, because nobody else can do anything.
Half PBR pick 2, Pickens, Alvin Kamara, and Slicky Ricky Pearsall. I think I'm going with the two guys you mentioned in Pickens and Ricky Pearsall. I know the Bills defense has been, very suspect at times, especially against the run, but we basically saw Alvin Kamara, through the first few weeks here be not as efficient, not as effective. The pass plays aren't going for as many yards. He just hasn't been as good. And I think George Pickens and Ricky Pearsall's ceilings as the team's wide receiver ones are elite this week. I know Pickens has a really tough matchup against the Packers, but I think we all know they're going to be throwing the ball. They're +7 right now at home. Going to be a high volume game for this Packers offense. Who are you going with?
I'm not going to lie. I was debating on going Kamara over Pickens, but I think you convinced me. I like Pickens a lot. I think there's so much potential. And with CD out 4 weeks, he's going to have to step up. Like you said, the line's moved from 6.5 to almost 7.5 at this point, and the over-under is set at 46.5. So they're expecting this game to actually put up some points, regardless of what Green Bay has, or Green Bay could blow them out. I'm not sure, but yeah, Ricky and Pickens would be the way to go for sure. The Kamara one is a bit too iffy. Buffalo's really good.
Yeah, they are really good. All right. I have McConkey, Odunze, Nico, Bijan, Scadaboo. Do I force Matthew Golden in because of the breakout, or just bite the bullet if it happens on my bench? You got to bite the bullet with that lineup you got. I mean, that's an elite lineup right there. I think it's great for you in terms of trade value and depth if Golden does have that breakout game, and I think he will have that breakout game. So good vibes for you right there. Jalen Waddle or Cedric Tillman. What?
No, I like Cedric Tillman a lot.
I don't like him compared to Jalen Waddle this week.
I think there's a chance this is the game where Tua gets benched.
No.
Come on. When is the fall going to happen for the Dolphins? Could it be this week?
No, they got to face a better team. The Jets aren't that type of team that's going to absolutely.
This could be the perfect one for them to just.
No, if they lose this one, it's the perfect one that, it's a conversation. McDaniel gets fired and Tua gets benched, that type of stuff. But this is the game where, two defenses that have struggled at times this year. The Dolphins looked solid last game in terms of how they played on offense. No one can deny that. So, it's going to be a shootout. Really bad defenses on both sides so far this year. Jalen Waddle actually had enough volume last week in a tough matchup against Buffalo. I think he'll be fine. And compared to Cedric Tillman against a tough Lions defense, yeah, it's got to be Jalen Waddle for me this week. I know I'm not a Jalen Waddle truther by any means right now, but I'm rocking Waddle.
I agree with you. To be honest, I look at it when two of the top receivers for the Browns are tight ends, Njoku and Fannin. Then it's
Yeah.
Judy and Cedric Tillman, and they're basically close to the same target share. Tillman's 10 for 18 for 100 yards. And, of course, that crazy end zone touchdown. That was heads up, man.
Yeah.
That was great.
Trying to take a look at this next one too. Judkins or Jameson Williams to score. Honestly, if I had to pick one of them to score over the other, I would pick Quinshon Judkins just because. I mean, think of it from a betting perspective. Who has more of a likely chance to score? The team's leading running back or this team's second passing option behind Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to score? So it's more of like looking at that perspective
Okay.
instead of like a fantasy. I hate Quinshon Judkins' matchup this week. In fantasy, the
Agreed.
Lions are tough for him, but he looked really strong last week in a tough matchup against Green Bay. So like Judkins looks like a really solid player. And if I had to pick one to score a touchdown over the other, I think it's Quinshon Judkins who I'd pick to score.
I understand the logic. And you know what? If I had to put money on it, I would probably go with your logic. But just for this, Jay Will, man. I was hyping him up preseason. So let's go Jay Will.
Okay.
And plus my Jared Goff thing would work then. That means he's throwing multiple
little
touchdowns.
stack right there.
Yep.
All right. Half PPR, I have RJ Harvey as well, but I don't start over Kamara, Rick, or Pickens. No, I don't think you do at all. I think RJ Harvey just hasn't had enough volume or touches. And I am the biggest RJ Harvey truther there is. I mean, the talent's there. Like the guy just needs a little bit of opportunities. And I'm on the J.K. Dobbins sell high club right now. So hopefully the RJ Harvey fan club can have our victory laps the second half of this year. Pick 2 full PPR, RJ Harvey, Chris Olave, Amari Hampton, Deebo Samuel. I'm rocking Olave and Hampton. Ooh.
Olave, man. I don't believe that New Orleans can score a whole lot. And
I don't think it's about scoring for me in PPR though. I mean, Deebo's cooked this week still. I think like it's a tough situation for him. I got him like somewhat near each other. I'm trying to pull up Olave's. This is Olave's targets this year. Week 1, 13. Week 2, 10. Week 3, 14. Sure, he hasn't topped 70 yards this year, but in PPR, who cares? Like,
yeah, you're right.
Like he's a consistent floor type of wide receiver too. That
37 targets is insane.
Yeah, and it feels like he's only going to get better because like this is about his floor. If he's seeing 12 targets a game, and one of the games he gets 100 yards and scores 2 touchdowns, that could win you a week. And I think Olave versus the Bills, who struggled on defense, solid matchup. Amari Hampton, he's a lock in lineups now with Najee Harris out, so you got to keep him in there. But
regardless of how good that Giants defense looks,
I think you go with those guys in there. Next question here from Crack Sandwich, Jordan Mason or Ashton Jeanty. Ooh,
Jeanty.
This one is a spicy one. You're going to go Jeanty and tell me why.
Isn't Christian McCaffrey still playing? Oh, wait, Jordan Mason's on another team now, isn't he?
Dude, what? Jordan Mason? Jordan Mason.
What am I thinking of?
Jordan Mason has, honestly, so this is where I have him. I have Mason at 11. I think the Steelers, I think the Steelers defense has not been as good. Not been as good to open the season. And I understand that Ashton Jeanty's get right week. Everybody's like, this is the week Ashton Jeanty breaks through against the bad Bears defense.
Yeah.
Guys, let's not do that. Jordan Mason against the Steelers. Both teams travel to London. Like the defenses are just not going to be as good as they normally are. You fire up Jordan Mason.
You're right.
Fire up Jordan Mason. Kevin O'Connell can scheme any sort of offense open except for when JJ McCarthy's played this year. But
absolutely, dude. It's insane.
Jordan Mason's going to be in for another monster game. Like I trust him over Ashton Jeanty this week, and I think it's crazy to say that like right away, but I do. I trust Jordan Mason more than Ashton Jeanty.
I'm not gonna lie. I agree with the logic. I kept thinking he was the backup, but that was last year. Now he's the backup in Minnesota and with Aaron Jones out. But I would have really wanted to go with Jeanty, but to be honest, you convinced me. I forgot that one's in Dublin, which means they're not really going to want to throw the ball a ton. I don't expect a big Jay Jettis game or anything like that. Or we had DK earlier. This could be a ground and pound kind of game where a guy like Jordan Mason really eats. So yeah, Jordan Mason.
20 touches. That's exactly what you want. Much better offensive line plus matchup. Jordan Mason. Do I start Dak this week or drop Fannin to either get Geno or Dart? Hunter Henry is my tight end. I think you drop Fannin. Honestly, play to go get a win this week, and you go get Geno Smith. Right? I think Dak is the type of situation where it could lose you a week. I mean, he's had 2 performances now under 12 points.
Yep.
Obviously, last week's was just unfortunate, like with the matchup based thing, but without CD Lamb, tough matchup. Like it's really hard for me to see a case scenario where Dak has a really good day. I think it's a less than 20% chance where Dak scores over 20 points this week
Agreed.
against the Packers. And, you can get a guy like Geno Smith, off of waivers right now. And, maybe Harold Fannin, who has a really tough matchup, has a quiet week, and you can just snag him off of waivers the next week. So I think in that case scenario, you do that. You agree with me?
I agree. Yeah, Dak's only 3 for 3, a touchdown to interception, so he hasn't really taken that step forward like he thought he will. And of course, now with CD Lamb out 4 weeks, you can't really expect him to throw the ball all over the place. And man, Micah Parsons absolutely going to want to take his pound of flesh. So yeah, this line
He's
like
gonna
we
let
were
Jerry
talking
know
about.
for sure.
Oh yeah, I would show up in some crazy
Yeah,
jerseys, dude.
100%. All right, next question here. What defense do you boys like better this week, Lions or Bills? I'm taking the better unit. I'm taking the Detroit Lions over the Bills just
agree.
because I think they're better. I understand that the Bills are actually, let me pull it up for you guys. I have these defenses ranked. The Bills at 4 and the Lions at 3, which is crazy. They're right back to back. Like it's great it's a great problem to have. I think both their matchups are
Yeah.
elite, but I think the Lions unit is in better shape than the Bills. I know the Saints is basically the target of the year. Like if you had the Saints on your schedule, you're streaming a defense against them type of thing.
Bro,
But
they're
with
14.5-point favorites.
yeah, they're 14.5-point favorites, and Spencer Rattler's only averaging 15.7 points per game as a starter. Like everything's great about that. But the Lions side of things, this Cleveland offense has been incredibly inconsistent. Joe Flacco is not like airing it out like we saw him do the last 2 years.
Yep.
It hasn't looked great at times. And in a win last week, they scored 13 points. Right. So it's like you gotta trust the Lions in this one. They're the better unit, but like back to back, it's more of a gut call. If you like
I
the
agree.
Bills over the Lions, you can't go wrong in that situation. Trade question from Jason. Sending Chase Brown for his Ricky Pearsall. My running backs are Mason, Chase Brown, Pollard, KW Sharps, ETN. That's a deep group. Yes, I absolutely love this trade for you reading through this. Like
I agree.
you have plenty of running back depth. And Chase Brown's value is obviously not at a great point right now. So, his value is not great, but Ricky Pearsall is a great target, especially adding him to a receiver room of Drake London, Ted McMillan. You have 3 guys in the back half struggling. You need another guy. And then you still have at running back Jordan Mason, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Tony Pollard. You have plenty of depth to be able to recover from this trade. And I think it's a solid trade for you being able to snag Ricky Pearsall. What do you think?
100%. And one of the other things people got to take into consideration is Ayuk might not return at all this season. Like they're saying he's not doing great. So if that's the case, Ricky Pearsall is wide receiver 1 until Juwan Jennings can get back to 100%. We're obviously hoping that soon, but even then, wide receiver 2 for Chase Brown. No offense, Chase Brown's not going to get a whole lot with Burrow out and everything. So yeah, Ricky Pearsall's the way to go for sure.
Listen,
I love everything that he has though. Drake London, Tet, Judy.
Yeah,
Diggs
it's
too,
a
obviously.
solid group. Solid group. Call me
Yeah.
an idiot, but I think even when Brandon Ayuk returns, Ricky Pearsall is his team's best receiver. Like
I think Ayuk's pretty much done at this point.
I
Like,
mean,
when he comes
he's
back, he's
coming
gonna
off
be
a
a
rough
high-end.
injury. I think
Yep.
he's better than what people he showed in 2024. But I mean, Ricky Pearsall looks like a stud. Like he's figured out this offense and he's getting fed in a Kyle Shanahan system. It looks great right now.
Yep.
Godwin will be on a snap count. Trey Tucker or Hunter Henry as my second flex. Hear me out. 12 personnel. Run it. Run the 12 personnel lineup. I want you starting Ferguson and Hunter Henry this week.
Yeah.
Overall
Okay.
flex rankings. Let me pull this up. I have Hunter Henry as my 73rd overall player. Trey Tucker, I have as my 87th overall player. And sure, Trey Tucker has a great matchup, but he's so volatile. When has Trey Tucker in his career had 2 fantasy viable back-to-back games? It just hasn't happened. And with Hunter Henry, we know what we're going to get. We know he has a plus matchup. We know Ferguson leads all tight ends in targets, no CeeDee Lamb. You're going to have 2 guys that are going to dominate in targets, especially in PPR formats. Trey Tucker feels like he's a little bit more volatile in that aspect of it. And sure, he could have the higher ceiling of the 3 of the guys, but I don't know if I trust the volatility. I'd rather go with the 12 personnel set. Give me Henry and Ferguson.
I 100% agree. I don't think this is even a question. It's Hunter Henry all day long. Regardless of that, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. Every time Hunter Henry is in my lineup against Carolina, he's getting started, period.
All right. Sorry, I messed up my question earlier. Okay, so it was a little bit of a Chuba Hubbard instead of I
What
don't
was
I
it?
don't remember who else it was. It
Hold
might have
on,
been
I'll
like
go look.
Ricky. It might have been Ricky Pearsall was his other
It was. It
option.
was
But
Ricky Pearsall,
yeah,
Warren, and yeah.
so Jalen Warren versus Chuba Hubbard. I have Chuba at 18 and I have Jalen Warren at 26 this week. Chuba's got the better matchup. So it's like
Chuba's
I
coming off injury though.
he is coming off an injury, but I trust that, you know, I think Jalen Warren, like he might average slightly around 3 yards per carry. Like it'll be that low. And I
Is
don't
there an
know if it's
argument
gonna
you
be
just start Tyquan Thornton then?
no, absolutely not. You're not even considering Tyquan Thornton in this. Can't. You
Chu,
can't.
here's my argument. Chuba Hubbard's really gonna struggle in the run game because New England's run game is half decent. Not just that, but he also has the fear of Rico, sorry, behind him. Jalen Warren, I agree with all of your concerns given Minnesota's defense. Tyquan, though, for them to stay in that game, he might need to catch some deep balls. It's 100% the more risky play for freaking sure, but the stack is not bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't buy into it. I think Tyquan Thornton's gonna have, he's my favorite bet. He's always props at like 25 yards, and it's just really good bets. But
Yep.
I just can't see a world where I start him over Chuba or Warren because I know what they're getting me. They're both getting 20 touches.
You're right.
And I think with Warren, it's just a tougher matchup than Chuba. So it's tough. And it's half PPR. So like a Jalen Warren dump down is not gonna be as much. And I think the Panthers have a better chance of consistently scoring compared to the Steelers against the Vikings. So
Yeah,
we'll see what we get.
there's a chance maybe a single touchdown separates all three of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. Need 3 spots: wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 in flex spot. We have Quentin Johnson, Hollywood Brown, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Jordan Addison, Trey Tucker, Tyquan Thornton, Nick Chubb, Travion Henderson, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Taylor are my starters. Tight end Juwan Johnson and Kittle is on IR. I got to read this and process this real quick.
Okay, so he needs a wide receiver 1, 2, 3, and a flex.
So it's 4 spots.
So let's start with let's flex. Let's just see if we're going to eliminate. Johnson's going to start no matter what, so we don't need to talk about him. Could the flex be Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, or Trevion Henderson? Out of those three, I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor.
Well, no. Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs are locked into the lineup for sure.
There's only a flex, and then he needs wide receiver 1, 2, 3.
Well,
so
no,
we only
I'm
have one running back.
Jacobs and Taylor are starting for him already, is what he's saying, I think. And then wide receivers, I think it's that grouping.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I'm sorry.
So I think out of this group, I like Quentin Johnson. I think the matchup against the Giants is great. Quentin Johnson's had a really good start to the year, so really
And
like
the Giants
that
have a
matchup.
horrible secondary.
Really, yeah, they've been very inconsistent. They have a great pass rush, and it'll make offenses inconsistent, but the receivers are still producing against that secondary. Devontae Adams, I know he popped up on the injury report, but you got to start him. He's been dominant to start the year. You can't even hesitate right now if he's healthy. Then you have a mix of guys in there as well. Out of that group, I like Deebo Samuel out of those guys. And then I honestly, in my flex, I'm going Travion Henderson against the Panthers. This is the week that Travion Henderson makes his statement. Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson had 3 fumbles combined last week. After that, Travion Henderson, 88% snap share, had 14 touches. He is going to take over this backfield. It might just start this week based on those fumbles from last week. I love the matchup. Travion Henderson's a really good talent, and sure, he wasn't effective in those 14 touches last week, but, the tough matchup, the Steelers ground game, might have slowed it down just a little bit. But I think Travion Henderson, the breakout is coming. This is the week I like him in my starting lineup, so I'm going with Trey in that flex spot for you there. Let's get to Colby's question here. Shout out to Colby. Appreciate you having me on Fantasy Spin the other night. Amari Demercado cashed in for us as our sleeper lock in our Fantasy Spin lineup. That was a good call for sure. Justin Fields or Marcus Mariota. I'm leaning more Justin Fields in this situation.
I agree.
Now that he's locked in, the Dolphins defense seems like they can't stop anybody right now to save their lives. And, the rushing upside with Justin Fields, and sure, he had an abysmal week against the Bills, but that week 1 performance against the Steelers, it was awfully special and won a lot of people weeks. So with Justin Fields, I'm locking him in. And Marcus Mariota's got a very tough matchup against the Falcons, down Terry McLaurin as well. Who are you going with here?
I agree with you. Yeah, Marcus Mariota is going to see what this Falcons defense actually has. I think this is the Commanders returning to, the center with Jaden out. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So, yeah, I'm 100% in on Justin Fields. I also have my reservations about the Dolphins. So, I think this could be his one where it's like Aaron Glenn's like, yep, this is why I went out and got Justin Fields.
Could be. It could be. Tyler Warren or Hunter Henry, worried about the Rams defense. I would
Hunter
not
Henry.
worry. No. Tyler Warren is a lineup lock. He is. He's a lineup
Against
lock.
the Rams, though?
You can't worry about the Rams if you're a top 3 tight end. Like,
I guess you're right. You're right. I'll give you that.
Yeah, like
I just have my reservations.
It's a tough matchup. The Rams are a good defense, but you
Top
start
5 for
Tyler
sure.
Warren. You start Tyler Warren. If you have Tyler Warren, you got to start Tyler Warren. I love Hunter Henry's matchup.
I
Tight end
agree with
6.
you.
But like Tyler Warren is an elite talent. He is the second most featured option in that Colts passing game outside of Michael Pittman to open this year. And last week was a quiet week against the Titans, sure, right? But outside of outside of that last week, like he was having great target shares. His snap share is great. Everything is really good with Tyler Warren, right? When George Kittle locked out, he's my tight end 3, right behind Bowers and McBride. So you can't afford to bench Tyler Warren. And despite his matchup, he's always going to be tight end 3. Tucker Kraft isn't close to him. Ferguson
Tucker Kraft looks decent though.
He's a good player. It's the target share problem with him. He doesn't. It's so volatile that we never get a consistent showing from Tucker Kraft on a weekly basis. So it's like, I like Tucker Kraft as a player. Do I like what he is, his offensive role? I don't know. So it's like,
that's for me with AJ Brown.
Yeah,
I feel like the Packers and the Eagles play to win games, not to get people points.
Well, yeah, they're run first offenses. They're not like air raid type systems. So it's tough with those offenses for sure. Bills or Lions defense, we talked about this. It's basically whatever your gut's telling you. Both of them have great matchups, ranked 3 and 4 on my list.
Yep.
I have Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, with Rice and Jennings on the bench. Which one do I trade to get, or Puka too? Which one do I trade to get a solid running back? Rome
Odunze.
Rome Odunze you could sell high on right now. Honestly, like Neighbors, Puka, Rashee Rice are going to be solid for sure the rest of the season. Those are all, probably going to be wide receiver ones when they're on the field. Rome Odunze is the only one that you could say is like has a chance of potentially, de-elevating to that wide receiver 2 tier. That's a great wide receiver room, and like especially in PPR formats, that will win you a ton of leagues having those guys at the wide receiver position. That's an elite grouping, and you could probably utilize like an Odunze and go get yourself a running back. Like, let's look at the running backs right now. Like, I wouldn't hate Odunze for Ashton Genty right now. I wouldn't hate Odunze for Amarian Hampton. I wouldn't hate Odunze for Josh Jacobs. I wouldn't hate trading Rome Odunze and getting Devon Achane. Like, you can go get yourself a really good running back for how Rome Odunze has produced this year, especially in PPR. So
I don't think it's close.
Flexibility. Yeah,
I don't think it's close. Jennings is not going to be able to get you anybody crazy. He might be able to get you a Chase Brown, like we talked about earlier. Neighbors, Puka, and Rice are pretty much untouchable for me. Once Rice comes back, he's going to just feast. I think that's when this Chiefs offense finally starts to open, and I feel like he's the true crux of that. But yeah, with that one, you got to go on to Odunze. The Bears are so up and down that no.
They're going to be very volatile, and they have a tough schedule rest of the season. So it's a little bit hit or miss with that one. TS here, PPR flex, DJ Moore, Devonta Smith, or David Montgomery. Whew, this is a tough one.
I'm going to go Demo.
You go Demo?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
David Montgomery, I mean, to be honest, that's going to be the way to go. DJ Moore has, to be honest, shrunk. And as a Panthers fan, I love DJ Moore, but I don't know really what he's doing now. Devonta Smith, he's had his moments, but this Tampa offense, I feel like, is going to have to be the one to really go out there and score points at a high level. So I feel like Philly's going to have to run the ball quite a bit. So I don't think he does get that crazy target share for him to be something special. And a PPR with DJ Moore, you're hoping he gets 10 plus targets. I feel like there's a chance Monty could absolutely rip a touchdown or something like that. Of course, all 3 of them can. I just feel like at some point they're going to be like, okay, it's time to, let Monty get the ball now. And that's really where he's going to eat in that one. I don't think that, like I said, the the Cleveland game's going to be close.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was trying to see where I have these guys in my rankings this week. Devonta Smith at 57, David Montgomery at 58, and then DJ Moore at 66. So they are
Oh, so
all
they're real close.
relatively close. And this is half PPR. So in PPR, probably going Devonta Smith a little bit higher than Monty just based on the matchup alone. The Browns are scary, and Monty hasn't seen more than 13 touches in 2 games now here through 2 weeks. And if last week was amazing, and the week before had a solid week as well. Browns defense is a different animal. They haven't allowed a rush of 10 yards this season.
That's beautiful, by the way.
That's crazy. So
until this week, they haven't met Jahmyr
until
Gibbs yet.
they haven't. The Lions are a different animal,
They
but
truly are. I think they're the Super Bowl contender. I think it's them and everybody else.
ooh, I don't know. There's some other teams for sure.
Oh, I'm not saying that other ones can't compete, but right now I feel like it's the Lions and then, Bills, Ravens. We'll get.
Yeah, I think this one's a toss up between Devonta Smith and Monty. The Monty matchup is scary, but he's a lot more consistent. But I think the Eagles are going to have to throw the ball a little bit more, and they get a little momentum in that passing game towards the end of last week. Jay Money back in the chat. Shout out to you. Flex to Hunter Henry or Xavier Worthy, not knowing if he's on a snap count. This one's so hard for me. It's so hard to project snap counts, and it's the same problem we had last week. Ian Rappaport tweets, Emeka Egbuka, he's on a snap count, and then he goes off and has a great game. So it's you never really know how much a player is going to play or not. I think Hunter Henry is a great matchup. I think he's a safe play. You're going to get good production out of him.
Agreed.
If I were a gambling man, I would say Xavier Worthy is going to see a significant amount of snaps for the Chiefs, and he's probably not going to be limited just because it's not an endurance problem with him. It's more of a, upper body issue. So I don't think listen, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I can't predict this stuff. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be in for a nice game against the Ravens. I mean, the Chiefs need this game. They really do need this game. It's a toss up. It depends on what you want to do. Xavier Worthy provides you that 25-point ceiling that can win you a week. Hunter Henry probably going to sit between 12 to 18 points this week.
I was about to say 15 points. Yeah.
Yeah. You could pick your poison with that one. And unfortunately, I can't predict snap shares, which sucks. I want to predict snap shares. I wish I had that power. I traded Jerry Jeudy, who I never started, Addison, who I never started, and Pollard for Javonte Williams, Ladd, and Mike Evans. You absolutely smoked this guy in this trade. You did great, Jason. Congratulations, my guy. Yeah. Congratulations, my guy.
Jeudy isn't anywhere close to Ladd. Mike Evans, when he comes back, is going to be just, again, red zone target machine. And Javonte has been a sleeper running back for so many teams, man. Didn't expect that at all.
That was a great trade right there. All right, start 2. DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Warren, maybe limited. Also a 9 a.m. game. I think out of this group, you go Pittman and Jalen Warren. You got to make sure you're up at 8 a.m., making sure he's fully ready to go. I don't think he's supposed to be completely limited. It seems like he'll be fine. So I will go Jalen Warren and Michael Pittman. You got to trust Pittman, man. Pittman's been great with Daniel Jones this season. Like I said, I think Waddle's a sneaky play this week, but Jalen Warren has that volume that you look for in, a running back or a flex play if you're trying to decide between those type of guys. I
would say Pittman, Waddle. I think Waddle could do something like you said. And now that Tyreek Hill most likely won't play or has already been ruled out, I'm going to go with those two. I don't believe in Warren at all.
Next one, Caleb or Drake May. Pick one out of these 4 for my flex. Golden, Downs, Ridley, or Bill. Out of those 2, I like Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, I want to see how high I have him. I might actually have him in my top 3. Caleb Williams is my 4th quarterback this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. Last week, quarterback 1. Listen, the Bears had 2 really tough matchups. We've seen the Lions defense and the Vikings defense so far this year. They got a cupcake in the Cowboys. I think you see a nice performance against the Raiders, who Marcus Mariota had a pretty nice day against last week, and some other quarterbacks have performed pretty well against them to start the year. So I like Caleb Williams this week. And out of that group, it's Matthew Golden, right? This is the breakout week for Matthew Golden, it feels like. Led the Packers in points, yards, receptions, all that good stuff last week. Gets the Cowboys, who allowed the most passing yards over the last 2 weeks. Matthew Golden is the play out of that group. What do you think?
I 100% agree. Yeah, Caleb and Golden is the way to go. May not need to do a whole lot. They might be running the ball quite a bit. Josh Downs, I don't really believe in. Ridley, we've already had the conversation on. And Bill, I mean, you're going up against that Atlanta defense, which can actually generate pressure. Do not believe in the 30-0 loss to Carolina. So, yeah, I think you smashed it, dude.
All right. Javonte, Swift, Fields, or Caleb for Jason here?
Swift.
No.
You're going to go Javonte against Green Bay?
100%. And here's why.
Okay.
He's going to have 20 touches, right? The
Mhm.
Green Bay Packers, obviously, against the ground last week, Quinshon Judkins wasn't completely neutralized. The Packers' strength, right now is their pass rush. They have an elite pass rush. Their secondary is a little hit or miss, and their run defense has been good this year. But, Quinshon Judkins found some holes within this defense. DeAndre Swift, he's basically – I don't know how to say this nicely. He's basically me getting the ball behind the Bears offensive line and going down right when a defender touches me. That's what DeAndre Swift does. Like he's
the Chris Godwin of running backs.
He's bottom half of the NFL in missed tackle rate. He doesn't make anybody miss. The Raiders, sure, they're a solid matchup, but we know what we're getting from DeAndre Swift. He's going to get you 10 points, provides no upside. It's just not great. Javonte Williams, the guy that can go get you 20. And then for Fields or Caleb, you go Caleb, I think. I love Fields this week against the Dolphins, but Caleb's just a little bit higher for me as well. Roster context here. I think this is the one we answered for him already. I think this is a pretty good team is what it looks like, though. CD on the IR spot looks like it hurts a little bit, but it looks like you have some good receiver depth for sure, which is definitely nice.
Receiver depth.
Recently traded Bowers plus Chase Brown to get Egabuka Genti. That's a solid trade as well. I think a little bit more even base than we saw Jason get, but I think that the duo of Egabuka and Genti provides a little bit more long-term value for you as well. And you mentioned that, at your tight end position, you got that Juwan Johnson slot still in there. So I think you're definitely set at that tight end position. So very, very good trade for you right there. Getting through our last few questions here, stash Kyle Monangai, Rico Dowdle, or Jalen Coker. Kyle Monangai, he's not. Well, it's a stash. It's a stash.
Stash. Oh, yeah, my bad. Jalen Coker.
No, dude. Kyle Monangai season. I just talked about this. DeAndre Swift is done as the Bears starting running back. Ben Johnson cannot deal with this much longer. You want to know the number? The number of the week. You ready?
Yep.
DeAndre Swift's lowest snap share since the middle of last season, 61% in week 3, despite a positive game script for the Chicago Bears. And you know what that tells me? Kyle Monangai is going to start seeing more work. He is the stash of the week. I would not be surprised to see 10-plus touches from Kyle Monangai this week against the Raiders. I think it's time. I think we're going to start seeing a 50-50 split in Chicago coming soon, like we all predicted in the offseason. I know Jalen Coker. I love Jalen Coker.
I'm fine with that. Just know that Jalen Coker is going to be integral to anything that Carolina wants to do. So he's supposed to be coming back the earliest is week 6. I don't know if that's really.
Here's the thing, though, is you could stash Monangai for 2 weeks and then get Coker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Go with Monangai then, and then if Jalen Coker's still there next week, that might be the play. Because you might have to sit him one extra week to ensure that you get him, but I really think that he's the guy. And to be honest, I think this whole Xavier Legette benching for Carolina really sets up Coker. I think Legette is going to get traded soon.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Need a flex between Travion Henderson, Ladd, or Ricky Pearsall. I trust Ladd McConkey still.
Yeah, not even close.
I trust Ladd McConkey. I think, he's been quiet compared to Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen. There's only a matter of time before Ladd's numbers increase. He's one of my biggest buy candidates in terms of fantasy football. His production's only going to get better as the year goes on. I think Allen and Johnston fade a little bit. So I think you go Ladd. I love Ricky Pearsall this week. I have Ladd at 17, Pearsall at 19. Got to trust that matchup against the Giants. Javonte Williams or Quinshon Judkins. I got Javonte a little bit higher than Quinshon just based on matchup alone. And Javonte going to have those 20-plus touches. We know that the Cowboys are going to have to run the ball a little bit without CeeDee Lamb, so trust in that. You agree with that one?
Yeah, and Judkins is going to have a tough time against the Lions. Lions are really going to be coming for that win. I think they're going to try and statement game this again. We got to remember this is the team that was putting up 30, 40-plus points every week. So I think that's another week where this is finally the thumb on the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, Javonte all the way, dude.
All right, 100%. 100%. All right, standard league. Drake London, Quentin Johnson, Egabuka, and Pickens. Start 2 of them. Quentin Johnson in standard leagues feels like a lock right now, to be honest, dude. He's scoring touchdowns at a crazy rate. Honestly, I'm rocking Egabuka, Quentin Johnson. I know Drake London is probably my favorite receiver out of this grouping long term, but he
Agreed.
struggled and he's more of like a PPR type of guy with how this Falcons offense has performed. Go Egabuka and QJ, who have touchdown upside on a weekly basis, performing well, solid target shares, plus matchups for both of them. I like it. Pickens obviously going to have a bigger role, but tough matchup in the Packers. You agree?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm gonna go London QJ with this. I do think this is the 1 week where Egbuka finally kind of returns a little bit to earth. Every wide receiver has it. This could be the 1 week where it's like, okay, he still does good, but maybe not high end. I still believe in Drake London, top 5 wide receiver, like you said. So I'm not going to bench him. It's going to be him and QJ.
100%. Hey guys, pick 4, 2 wide receivers, 2 flexes: Hampton, Dobbins, Wilson, London, Hampton, Golden, 2 Hamptons, Egabuka, and Pearsall. A really good group of guys in here. I think you got to start Marion Hampton and J.K. Dobbins this week, no matter
Yeah.
what. Both are locks, and then you're kind of deciding between those wide receivers. I think Garrett Wilson, with how he's performed this year, you got to have him in your lineup. Then it's between Egabuka and Ricky Pearsall. I'm going Egabuka. I think I have Egabuka a little bit higher than Ricky. I love the matchup, but I think that Egabuka is going to be in for a really solid week this week. Would you change anything?
Yeah, I would take it again. Same thing we just said about Egbuka. I would still take London over Egbuka.
Okay. Okay.
Other than that, Hampton Dobbins agreed. I think Garrett Wilson could do quite a bit this week, especially now that the secondary Miami is so freaking bad.
Yep. Caleb Williams or Patrick Mahomes, and in a separate league, Worthy or Pittman. I am going with Williams. And Pittman.
Agreed.
I think
not even close.
I think Mahomes has a plus matchup against the Ravens, but I just feel like the ceiling's just kind of capped right now with what their receivers are doing. And I think with Pittman, we know what he's going to do. At Worthy, it's a little bit of an unknown factor based on his potential limited snap share this week. We'll see how much of a factor that is in his production overall. But I think you're in a good situation. Both players have good matchups on both sides of it, so should be in a good spot. Good pass rush makes your secondary better, 100%. Quinshot Judkins, Ricky Pearsall, Jacoby Myers, Teteroa, McMillan, pick 2 full PPR.
McMillan for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going McMillan, and I want to see it. I have Ricky Pearsall 1 slot higher than Jacoby Myers, and Jacoby Myers is a must-start guy for me, but you can't start him over Ricky Pearsall. I like it's a great situation to have, but with Jacoby, he's going to be in for a really good week against the Bears, but Pearsall's had dominant performances of late. Teteroa McMillan is a wide receiver 1, so you can't really bench him with a 30% target share. So tough situation. Unfortunately, Jacoby Myers will be on the bench. Emeka Egbuka or DJ Moore. This one's easy. Emeka Egbuka. Good matchup for him.
Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard or Chase Brown. I can't trust Chase Brown as far as I could throw him right now, unfortunately. I think he has better days ahead, but the offensive line has to fix their problems if Chase Brown's going to have any sort of success. They're struggling up front right now, so I think there's probably better days ahead for Chase Brown. There's positive regression coming, but can't trust it this week, and I'd go Chuba Hubbard over him. Am I crazy to start Wentz over Dak?
No.
I think it's definitely worth a conversation. I don't think it's crazy. I have Dak as the quarterback 19 and Carson as the quarterback 21. Personally, I think Dak just has a higher bust potential. I think there's a 20% chance Dak gets to 20 points. I think Carson Wentz has a decent chance of doing that against a pretty bad Steelers defense. So
I agree.
I like Wentz's matchup more. I just know Dak's going to have the volume. Wentz still only threw like 20 passes last week.
Hey, 20 passes and 3 touchdowns is good enough for me.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. What do you guys think of this trade? He's currently 0-3. Jefferson, Evans, Brown, Judy Wilson, Robinson for Golden, Trevion Henderson, Jamar Chase, Kenneth Walker, Rashee Rice, Chris Olave.
All of that for Ginty? Four. I'm sorry. Wow.
I would do the left side. The left side, I think, is the stronger part of the trade for sure. There's a lot of starters in that grouping. I understand you get Jamar Chase and stuff like that, but I think you try to move off of like Mike Evans or something and try to get some value if you're 0-3 for those players you're trying to trade away. Because Garrett Wilson, really solid player. You have Justin Jefferson and Chase Brown who are struggling, but you're kind of like negating the value of them by getting Jamar Chase, who's on the downside of things in terms of, he's just kind of similar to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker is very volatile, and I still have Chase Brown right around him. Rashee Rice isn't playing right now. I think you kind of hold off, try to make some smaller trades for, the time being. Move Mike Evans. There's a question here: is Chase Brown worth trading for as a buy low? I do think he is. Like, there's a lot of people that think Chase Brown's like worth peanuts now. Chase Brown's a decent RB2 rest of season. It's just he's in a slump right now. He's like,
Yeah.
if you can get this guy for like a Matthew Golden who might have a really good week, do it. Do it. Trade him for a guy that had a monster week. See if you can get these players that are struggling, because this is the time people start freaking out and you can make some good trades. One of my leagues traded Jake Ferguson, who's led the tight ends in all targets. I got George Kittle for him, and I have Juwan Johnson. Like, you can make these type of moves to navigate it just based on how guys are performing, how desperate some managers are, and you can come out as a better team because of that. You should never panic because there's always moves to be made, especially in terms of trades. So definitely a lot of opportunities there. Start Derrick Henry or Nico Collins. Oh man, this is a great situation to have. I need to actually look this up. I don't know. Who would you go out of these two? Because
Nico, I take that back. Nico against Tennessee. Nico.
I have Nico
over Derrick Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry is going to be going up against Kansas City. Kansas City is going to try and do their best to stop Derrick Henry and force Lamar to throw the ball. I think there's going to be a lot of blitzing. They're going to try and contain him. So yeah, for that reason, I don't believe in the Titans at all.
Yeah, I got Henry slightly higher than him, but Kansas City always does a great job of affecting the Ravens' game plan. So I understand the concerns there. It's tough. It really is a toss-up. But I mean, like, if you're deciding between Derrick Henry or Nico Collins, you're in a great spot. So
agreed.
That's very good. Tucker Kraft or David Njoku, not even a question for me. Tucker Kraft against the Dallas defense that's struggling. David Njoku's got a brutal matchup against the Lions this week. Made a couple of trades. But it boils down to me giving up Jaylen Warren, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs, and getting back Ashton Jeanty, Tetaroa McMillan, and Deebo Samuel for PPR. How did I do? Let me read this again. You did a great job. That's an elite trade. We're gonna give a round of applause here for 420 Gal.
Dude, great job. You get Jaylen Warren, a very
that's
running back. That's what I'm saying. They're giving up Warren, Tyreek Hill, who no offense is done at this point in his career. He might have a little bit of value later on. Stephon Diggs hasn't looked like the best. Jeanty, who's very much on the upside. Ted has been one of the best wide receivers to come into the league lately. And then, of course, Deebo. I mean, with Terry McLaurin out, he's going to get wide receiver 1. So, yeah, I feel like you really cooked whoever took this trade.
Yeah, 100%. 2 more start and sit questions that me and Nick are checking out for the night. DeAndre Swift or Chase Brown? Chase Brown for me.
Swift.
It's Chase Brown, dude. I'm telling you, this is the
I know
DeAndre
you're
Swift
guy.
anti-game. The DeAndre Swift anti-game's happening. Chase Brown's in a bad spot. He's facing Denver, but they're going to find different ways to evolve this game plan. And I think that Chase Brown's upside this week is still higher than what DeAndre Swift can provide. I know DeAndre Swift, 10 points. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
He can't win me a week. I'm going to play every single week in fantasy to win a week. Chase Brown can do that. DeAndre Swift can't. Who do I start out of this bunch? Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Nick Chubb, Jordan Addison, or Wan'Dale Robinson? This is a tough one because there's a lot of guys clumped right around each other. And you know what? I think it's Jordan Addison for me and his bounce back return game off suspension. I think this Vikings passing offense is finally going to get in a little bit of a rhythm against a Steelers pass defense that has really struggled this year. And obviously, Jettis is going to draw a lot of coverage. They add in Addison back to this wide receiver group who desperately needed another pass catcher. I think Addison could be in for a nice game. Jeudy, can't start him right now against the Lions.
Agreed.
Nick Chubb, absolutely not. He saw his snaps decrease. Wan'Dale Robinson, facing the Chargers.
Upside.
Just tough matchup. Interesting play. I think he's close to Addison, but still have him behind. And then Chris Godwin. It's a question of how much. How much will he play? So I'm going to go with Jordan Addison, who should have a nice game. Drake May or Baker Mayfield. Tough one here. I need to look at the rankings for this one because this one's a toss-up for me. In terms
Baker
of
at the Eagles is going to be tough.
I have Drake May higher right now. And
I would put Drake May higher.
Yeah, I got Drake May a little higher. I don't think Baker's a guy that you have to avoid because of the Eagles because they struggled this year, but Drake May's rushing upside's intriguing. Panthers defense is better this year, but I like Drake May and what he's starting to do with this Patriots talent group. So a little
Agreed.
bit exciting what he can do there. Our final question for the night: sit one, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Waddle, Ashton Genty, or DK Metcalf. Similar question we had earlier.
DK.
It's DK Metcalf this
Yeah.
week against a really tough Minnesota Vikings defense. And, listen, Nick, it was a great show today. Answered a ton of start and sit questions. Don't worry if I missed your question. Make sure you find the Twitter tomorrow at BlitzLink. I will be dropping a start and sit question. I'll try to get to every single one I can. If you guys enjoyed the live stream tonight, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We are doing this Saturdays now because we got the overseas game, stuff like that at 8 a.m. So we're doing it on Saturdays until those change. But we'll catch you guys next week here on Blitz Sports Media.